Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to Cairo, Egypt, in order to bring the Marvel universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance Assemble. Volume 103. Brent, you called me out last week for not changing the intro, and guess what? I promised I did it, and here we are.
I just looked as you were starting. I was like, did he do it? Sure enough.
Well, I wanted to make sure. Originally, it was going to have London, England in there, but I said I know they're going to Egypt, but I don't want to, if it was going to be Cairo or someplace different. So Cairo it was. So,
well, mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Yep. So how are you doing this week?
I'm good. I can't complain.
Gotcha. I am officially on spring break. So
I'm jealous, but I had mine. So
yeah. So still have to work, but no one in the building at that point. No students, no teachers at that point. So I can get some quiet work done. And
how is that spring break?
Well, it's spring break in the sense for everyone else. I get a break from
you get a break from the teachers, which they're the hard parts of education. But
I don't want to say that they're. I want to be very clear. I want to be very clear. It's not like they're bothering me necessarily. It's just there are certain things that, take me away from things, and discipline wise, I enjoy my job. I love my job, but I've got a lot of stuff that I've got to get done before the end of the year, because pretty soon when we get back, we almost have a month left.
I have an administrator in the family. I have friends with administrators. They definitely are fans when there are no one else in the building. My thing is, in my district, spring break is for almost everybody, not the maintenance staff, not the custodial staffs, the people who are actually super important, but the principals, they're gone. I mean, I'm sure some of them work from home, but they're not in the buildings.
Well, I could take the time off, but Erin's going to be working at that point, and we're not really planning on going anywhere since she got her new job. So
perfect. Take the time off. Have the week to yourself.
No, I wouldn't call it. I'd be spending it all with the kids, which is not a bad deal. But I will.
Well, that's true.
I will probably be taking a day or two off just to be home and get the kids a break from Erin trying to do her job while wrangling the kids. So
well, enjoy your nice, pleasant week with no staff.
There we go. There we go. Very, very, very PC at that point. All right. Well, let's get these show plugs out of the way. We are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 8 shows. On Mondays, we have a change. Yes, it is going to be now effective April 25th. Ranger Alliance will be alternating bi-weekly with Slice of Film. My show, World's Finest True Believers, I announced this week that it'll be moving to monthly. I'll be dropping the last Sunday of every month, so the next new episode will be May 29th, but I did drop a new episode this week, inviting back Scott from DC Squadcast to talk about Volume 4 of Scott Pilgrim. Scott gets it together in more ways than one. So, but yeah, the reason for the change is basically offering guests some more options to record with me during the week. And it does take a lot of time for me not only to read the selected works, but also doing all the research for the show. So give me some of that wiggle room for time and to continue to put out a quality product and a quality show. So thank you all for the listeners that have understood. And if you haven't understood, I'm sorry. But you still get more World's Finest. You just got to get it.
Right.
You'll be fine. You'll still get it. So May 29th will be the next new episode, but I appreciate Slice of Film stepping in to fill that bi-weekly part on Mondays. So yes. On Tuesdays, DC Alliance, superhero discussions on Wednesdays, Star Wars Alliance on Thursdays, Marvel Alliance on Fridays, and a walk through the multiverse bi-weekly on Saturdays. So we also have a Patreon. If you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got 2 tiers. The tip jar, say, hey, we're doing a good job. And then we've got our $5 tier, which is ad-free episodes, Patreon exclusive shows, and early access episodes. We are getting ready to record next week our 4th episode of We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Alliance MCU rewatch. And what will we be talking about, Brent?
The Incredible Hulk.
Yes, the Incredible. It's kind of like the Ohio State, the
Incredible Hulk.
Yes.
Which, if you kind of think about it, it's a good time to revisit that movie, as we have She-Hulk coming down the line in the relative near future. Just a few projects away.
Yes, just a few projects away, but yeah, also forgot to say if you want to watch any of these, some of these shows live, DC Alliance goes live on the Geekverse YouTube podcast channel on Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Star Wars Alliance goes live on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and this show, as usual, goes live at 9:10 Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays. And each one of those shows has their own solo feed, separate from the GUA feed. And we do appreciate, as always, our patrons. We cannot do this without your support. And if you could take about 30 to 90 seconds to rate and review the Marvel Alliance feed, the GUA feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever podcatcher choice may be, we greatly appreciate it. And as always, we want to thank our official sponsor, organicpricebooks.com. Use that code MarvelGUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. Excellent shipping, immaculate packaging, excellent customer service, ships around the world. For all your omnibus collected edition and hardcover needs, use that code MarvelGUA at checkout. We want to thank Organic Price Books for being our official sponsor. All right. Well, episode 3 of Moon Knight.
Halfway there.
Yep, we're halfway there. It was just almost like it started yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. All these Marvel shows, you get to the latter half, and I'm like, man, we're almost done, and we just started. Like, I felt that way about literally every single one of them so far.
Yeah, so what are your kind of non-spoiler thoughts?
Overall, I thought it was another solid episode. You know, we got some good action in this. We'll get into that a little bit more on the spoiler side, but we got some good action. I'm absolutely loving the dynamic that Oscar Isaac is giving us with Steven with a V and with Mark Spector, and just the way he is able to play both parts and bounce between them. Like that is, I mean, yes, like the Moon Knight action and stuff, or the Mr. Knight action, you know, like we got last week and stuff, like that's all cool. It's fun to watch. It's awesome to watch. But my favorite part of this show is absolutely the dynamic that, well, Oscar Isaac has with himself. Absolutely.
Yeah, Oscar Isaac definitely gave kind of chewed the scenery up, and whatever particularly this episode. This I'll even say it's not any kind of spoiler. This is my favorite episode so far of the series. It had a great balance of character development, action, furthering the story along, some great new characters coming into play.
Yep.
You know, especially when when another person basically runs the body at that point, and it's just very interesting as we're going through the growth of these characters, and especially I think Steven has some real growth with this, and not necessarily trying to always escape. He's
yes,
he's slowly starting to accept that I have to play a part in this if I want to survive.
Yes. He's on board with the plan. He's like, okay, we're all doing this. You know, it's like, it's Mark and I, we got to work together. And without getting too specific yet, it's like they both recognize that there are things the other one is more suited to do.
Mm-hmm. And Chris Evans in the chat saying it's his favorite episode too. It felt like a Moon Knight comic come to life. Yeah, it definitely was a good episode. So, any other non-spoiler thoughts before we take that ad break to break up the spoilers to the non-spoiler?
Nope. Let's go into that ad.
All right. So as you know, listeners, these ads keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they could be a bit loud. I'll give you that 3 count to turn that volume down before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right. So we start off this episode with Layla. And she's kind of speaking to a friend that's making her kind of a legal passport. And it's these episodes where the woman who's making the passport knows who Mark is, and in the previous episode Steven found a passport that I'm guessing might have been made by this woman. Mm-hmm. And we get a quick look at Layla's passport, and it has her full name there and her occupation as an antiques dealer, which
it has a full name. I mean,
full name, yeah.
Anytime you're dealing with a fake passport, I mean, I don't know.
True. And the interesting thing is that she said she hasn't been in Cairo in 10 years, and she was trained by her father. This makes her very much aligned with Marlene in the comics, who because even she's referred to in the comics, her father referred to her as a little scarab, and the woman refers to her as, your father's little scarab.
Sure.
So it's just interesting why they decided not to use Marlene and rename the character Layla. There may not be a reason for it, but it's just interesting that they're doing everything but call her Layla.
Yeah,
Excuse me,
I mean,
call her Marlene. Excuse me.
I mean they've done it other times, combining characters, taking elements of this character and that character and putting them together. It's just something Marvel's known for. And realistically, I kind of feel like it's easier to do that with, let's say, the lesser known characters, right? If you I'm trying to think of a more obvious example. Like if you wanted to take MJ and instead you made her look like Gwen Stacy and be a cop like Carly Cooper, right? Like that would be a weird mixture because those are such, not Carly Cooper, but the others are such big characters. Let's be honest. Layla and Marlene in the comics, they're not that big of characters. They're not that as well known. It's easier. The smaller the character, the more liberties you can get away with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks S-Pub's in the chat saying he's really liking Layla in the show.
Yes.
Chris Evans saying, I think Layla is a bit more handy too than I remember Marlene being. Yeah, exactly. All in the game. Layla's definitely falling for Steven, which is interesting. Got some more Falcon Winter Soldier Easter eggs. Yep, we'll definitely get that shout out later in the show. And seeing the kind of our actor that, Gaspard Ulil, who had passed away and was killed in a skiing accident that unfortunately we're not going to see. I don't know if we're going to see more of his character in this series after this episode, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was super ambiguous. Like they could have easily brought him back, or they could easily not bring him back.
Yeah, but so they flash out of after the Marvel fanfare, and you see, Arthur out there with his followers following the golden scarab, and I just get very much a Raiders of the Lost Ark vibe through the dig and things like that, which
Sure.
I think some of the interviews I've read, they do bring up some inspiration. They take some inspiration from Raiders, but Harrow's joined by those two policemen from the previous episode, so they haven't gone away yet. But you cut to Mark sprinting across the rooftops to meet the contact. When he catches up with them, well, he's dead. He's gone.
I hate it when that happens.
He's like, hey, I needed that guy. And that fight was really cool. I really much enjoyed. Great choreography with that fight sequence.
Yeah, we talked about in the first episode, it's like we wanted to see Mark in action, right? Like we know he took over, or at least we presume he took over. I might argue now we don't definitively know that Mark took over in episode 1 to get him out of those spots. But regardless, now we've seen it. We've gotten to see Oscar Isaac in civilian clothes do the action thing, regardless of who is controlling the body at that point. And I agreed. It was a cool scene. And I noticed the one thing that really stuck out to me was when he had that kid in his hands, he was ready to just punch him and lay him out. And he switched to an open palm and just kind of smacked them to the ground. And, later they would show like he was trying to go easy on this kid, which, I appreciated that.
Yeah, it made me wonder at that moment, is Steven trying to fight back at that point and try to prevent him from hitting him?
Or does Mark just have a little bit of a heart? Because I feel like this episode has given us evidence that Mark is not, let's say, the most ruthless person who sometimes is running the show. Yeah, and that's why I question who was truly in charge of the body in the first episode. That episode where he's surrounded by people and he snaps out of it back to Steven and his hand is all bloody and stuff and the scarab's covered in blood. That to me says it's a little more brutal than what Mark showed us here.
Yeah, you're right. And the fact that, he does wake up at one point, he loses consciousness, he wakes up in a cab and they're going to the airport. We're meant to think, you would think, oh, when he asked who's going to the airport, oh, Steven must have took over. That wasn't Steven. Steven was kind of in the mirror, kind of confused too. We get a lot of big hints, like you're saying, about this third personality. I believe Mark was well aware, and he admits it later in the episode. He actually admits it later in the episode. He's aware of Steven, and he's been the one covering things up while this third personality has been going basically balls out and, fighting, womanizing, the wearing of the ball cap at that point. I'm still convinced we're gonna see Jake. It's gonna be Jake Lockley. If it's not Jake Lockley, it's gonna be a completely different one. But my money's on Jake Lockley.
Well, this kind of makes me think. Let's just call him Jake for now until we
Yeah.
have another name to go with. I'm thinking that it's Jake who asked his coworker out on that date
Hmm.
in the first episode. Like people question, well, why would Mark do that? Was he trying to create distance with Layla? It definitely wasn't Steven because he didn't even know about it. Probably was at this point, I think, Jake. And I know people brought that up, but to me, having it be Jake makes the most sense. Like there seems to be like Steven, who is the nicest guy, Mark, who's a little more in the middle, and then somebody seems to be more brutal. It's got to be Jake.
Yeah, which is a definite departure from the comics because Jake is usually kind of your informant, the one kind of the street level. It's not saying he can't take care of himself, but he's not the brutal one, the one who's kind of off the chain.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but he's like a cab driver in the comics,
Yeah.
right?
Yep,
Right.
he's a
So
cabbie.
the first time that we see any hint of a potential third personality where we start where Mark and Steven both imply they don't know what's going on, they're in a cab.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe I'm looking for something that's not there. Hashtag Mephisto confirmed.
Yep.
But that is certainly something I was thinking about.
Chris Evans is betting Monopoly money in the world that is Jake. I'll bet you a free cup of coffee in the break room. How about that? So he gets the cabbie to stop, and then he sees the guys he was just fighting walk away, and they tell him, "Hey, you let us go." And Mark gives chase of him again, fights him, loses consciousness again, and he wakes up in the desert, and he's killed one of the guys, and another one's beaten on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sorry, but I was laughing at the moment where Conchu, well, no, even before that, Steven's like, "What did you do, Mark?" And Mark says, "It wasn't me. I didn't do this." I mean,
Yeah.
that is the biggest thing. Like, okay, there is a third personality here, and it's definitely not Conchu taking over.
No, I agree. I don't think Khonshu, the only time we've seen him at all even begin to imply he can take over the body is during that little, let's call it trial or judgment or whatever you want to call that later with the other gods.
Yeah, the Aeneid.
The other avatars, yeah.
Mhm.
And so I'm fully convinced it's not Khonshu, it is Jake or whoever we are calling Jake.
Yeah, I like it when Conchu says, "Yeah, okay, take him to the edge." At that point, he'll talk, and he refuses,
Oh my
and he says,
gosh, I
"Hails,
know.
hails, hail Amet," and then he cuts the rope or cuts the tie,
Yep.
and
Yep.
falls to his death. And Conchu's like, "Well,
God,
didn't see that coming."
Oh my gosh. I'm like, not sure I'm supposed to find this funny, but
I
here
know,
I
but
am.
I
On
think
top
it
of
was more.
that,
I think it was more just like, "Oh shoot, that happened."
anyone else thinking about Gamora or Natasha in Infinity War and Endgame?
I sent you that meme where it says, "Well, Conchu looking down and saying, well, maybe you might get a soul stone out of
Right?
this."
I mean, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
Said we're a little sadistic here, a little sad and sick right now.
Just a bit.
But I did notice like that scene, and I don't know if it was on purpose, but I'm a big James Bond fan, and there's a scene in the movie The Spy Who Loved Me with Roger Moore that pretty much echoes this sequence of the hold on to the tie to the edge. But interesting at that point, and he's talking to Conchu. He's kind of fed up with this whole thing, and Mark says, let's talk. We need to talk to the gods. We need to tell them what
Right.
Arthur's doing. And I like how Conchu says, what do you think? He says, well, it's an idea. It's definitely not a good one, but he also hints about what's later going to come in the episode, that the gods already ticked at him. He's already ticked off the gods once, and if he ticks him off any further, he's going to wind up in a stone, and he will be without, the Moon Knight healing powers.
Right. So he's going into this. Like he then says, I have a bad idea, and he takes off, right? And he calls the gods. Or that's when he does like the solar eclipse thing. This is our first clue that like the other gods they don't like him, they don't respect him, they're out to get him. That's very, very important for later in this episode.
Yeah. We also see later when he flashes and transports him, that we learn that there are passages that the gods can take to get around the world. And Kanchi says the Aeneid tend to do this. Having this ability would explain why, Layla is a bit behind in getting to Mark in Cairo. because when we sequence back from the end of episode 2, he's just suddenly there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even convinced that that's Mark and Steven on the floor. Part of me wants to think that's Jake.
I had that thought too. I saw some other speculation about it. I don't think we have enough evidence to. It's definitely not Steven. Like that's not his style, right? You know. But we
I
don't
think
have enough
we
evidence to say for sure. But it could be Jake, absolutely.
Well, I think we do get kind of a hint of Steven in that when he looks in the mirror, and it doesn't it looks a little more, the mirror looking back at him seems a little more shocked.
Right. So again, still not. It's not Steven on the ground.
Mm-hmm. So Khonshu calls the avatars of the gods together after basically blacking out the sun, and they meet at that point. He meets Hathor, who's the goddess of music and love, and she's actually in the comics too, and she's also looks a little sweet on Khonshu.
She definitely had a heart, which is probably fitting for who she's the avatar for.
Mm-hmm. And I just love it that he's messing around. He says, "Oh yeah, they're not going to be able to not notice this call signal where I'm blocking out the sun." And when they go there, he says, "Why are you calling us all here? What's wrong?" And he takes over Mark. And this is just Oscar Isaac chewing up the scenery.
Yes.
Playing, channeling Khonshu at that point with a loud, boisterous voice at that point, and just telling him like Harrow's trying to unlock the tomb of Emmett. And so they said, fine, that's a heck of an accusation. Let's call him in. And passageway, there's Arthur. And Arthur, as expected, is going to deny it up and down. And he basically throws Khonshu under the bus because obviously he's not a fan of Khonshu. He's trying to get him off his scent and saying, well, wait a minute. He's taking over this guy, Mark, who's not well. He's got other personalities. He's weak. He's using him. And yeah, why would you trust an unreliable narrator over here? I left. I abandoned Khonshu, and y'all don't like Khonshu. Why would you ever believe this person?
Yeah, and it's basically implied that Arthur, or even flat out stated, basically that Khonshu is an abuser.
Mm-hmm.
That Arthur and now Mark are his victims. The other gods believe this to be true. This is why this is important. Multiple people were like, why were they believing Arthur so quickly? The reason is they were giving him the benefit of the doubt because they were predisposed to deciding that Mark / really Khonshu was in the wrong. Whatever he was doing was in the wrong. So if he's saying Arthur is a bad guy, he's trying to do this thing, he's trying to raise this other god, blah, blah, blah. They're like, well, that's not right. That can't be true because it's Khonshu, right? And if you think about it, everybody's got those people, like, think about who you work with. You're like, you don't get the benefit of the doubt on anything because of something stupid or some perceived slight or real slight or whatever. It's like, no. So Khonshu is that person for the Ennead. It's just, sorry, you're out of luck. Arthur is viewed as the victim. They're going to believe him.
Yeah, I mean, we see some of the avatars that are named, Horus, Osiris, the Ennead or the Ennead, can't remember the proper pronunciation, but they're supposed to be 9, and there are only 7 present. So I'm guessing the 2 that aren't are Khonshu and Emmett.
Yes,
should have been there at that
That's
point.
That's how I took it.
And they talk about how that they decided that since humanity turned their backs on them, that they would not interfere and just observe. And while Khonshu is like, no, screw that. I'm gonna interfere. I'm gonna do that. I listen to Geekverse. I'm surprised Travis didn't call this, but I'll kind of channel my inner Travis Snell at this point. Where were they during Thanos? Why didn't they do anything?
Because they don't care. The real reason they had already
cowards.
They actually that's fine. They're cowards. They actually gave you the reason why. They flat out told you.
Yeah.
We are leaving humanity. We're only here to observe.
Yep.
They're trying to be the watchers. Just they're like, oh, Uatu, he's got ideas. Let's follow him. Cowards. They're trying to just watch. I'm sure, cowards.
But I saw that. I was like, oh, Travis is gonna love that.
I am surprised he didn't bring that up.
You're right. But I'll bring it up for him. I'll help him out a little bit. But yeah, as expected, they're like, nope, sorry, you didn't prove your case at that point. Arthur, continue going about it. And I was surprised at that moment, just the way that Khonshu was talking. I was like, okay, I guess we're not going to put him in stone, but that's strike 2. So I guess they have their 3 strikes and you're out at that point.
Yeah.
But they also say, again, this is the first time. I don't know if we got specifics of what Khonshu tried to do, but that's when he was banished from
They
the
never
Ennead.
they never said what it was he actually did.
They did mention the idea of the Void, which is a direct callback to Jeff Lemire's run. At that point, it's a lot of stuff I could go into, but I'll save you at that point. Read Lemire's run. The Void is a big part of that that run in the beginning. So there we go. Eternals versus Egyptian gods, not interferethon. Very good.
I'd watch it.
Yeah. So as obviously Khonshu loses and Hathor realizes what's actually going on. She does believe Khonshu due to her prior relationship with him, and tells him that he needs to seek out the tomb of another magi who was tasked with keeping the location of Amit's body a secret, even from the gods, in case they change their mind. So I know the character, the Magi, they were first started with an S. I just can't remember the name of it. I want to say Sifu, maybe?
I'm not sure, but I will say this. It was a little, I don't know, convenient maybe that like the very first guy that he asked on the street like sort of knows about him. And even Layla shows up then and goes, well, you asked the right person, but you're not Egyptian. So I'm going to go do it.
There we go. Chris Evans got me in the chat. Senfu. There we
go. Perfect. Thank you, Chris.
But yeah, you're not asking the right person. So this is when we start the meeting of Anton Mogart, and who is Midnight Man in the comics. And as we said, sadly, the actor who played him recently died in a skiing accident. We're not sure what's going to happen to the character moving forward, being recast, but in the comics, Midnight Man is a master thief who steals high-value works of art. And when Layla and Mark are actually on this kind of party boat, as they're heading to meet Anton, they have a nice kind of back and forth little discussion, reminiscing about the music that's being played, reminding them of their wedding. She's wearing actually a crescent moon necklace, and so that'll be revealed to be something else. But that's where he reveals also that he's known about Steven for a long time, and he had it under control until recently. And when they go and meet Anton, he drops a line that he hadn't seen Layla since Madripoor. And how about this? Maybe another connection, not just with Madripoor, but could Anton and Layla have had dealings with the power broker, Sharon Carter?
I wondered about that. My wife asked me if we thought there was a chance that Sharon might show up. And I'm like, I mean, sure, there's a chance. I haven't heard of anything like that. And that's not the connection I would expect, but I didn't expect the Madripoor name drop either.
Mm-hmm. So that's too, as someone in the chat had said, like, Falcon and Winter Soldier references. So they go to the sarcophagus, and this is when we start seeing that really Steven's going to have to play along with this, and that Mark has to understand that he needs Steven to do this, but he's not willing to let him take control because he's still fearful that Steven's not going to let him come back out at that point. So Steven has to talk him through this about getting the stuff out of the sarcophagus in order to find the location of Amit's tomb. Well, lo and behold, who shows up to ruin it all?
Yes. But before, I want to just mention, I like this scene with Layla telling him, you need to let Steven out, right? Because in the first episode, especially, it was Khonshu telling Steven, you need to let Mark out, let Mark out, let him fix it. Now Layla's saying, you need to let Steven out. Like there's always, it's got to be kind of horrifying because there's always somebody who wants you to go away and the other person to come out.
And again, like, who was it in the chat earlier? I think it was on the game saying the love triangle. I'm trying to find it. The enjoying the love triangle that's going on. Was it there? No. Anyways, I think the love triangle that they're setting up at that point is going to be very interesting. But it's understanding that Steven has skills with all the Egyptian studying he's done. Mark has skills. Jake has other skills at that point. He has a very special set of skills, kind of like Liam
Mhm,
Neeson.
mhm.
Almost said Liam Neeson, and that's a little different now. um, but like you said, they're having to learn to not only trust each other but work together for the same goal. If Steven wants to get out of this whole thing, if Mark wants to find a way to move on from Conchu and to fulfill his deal, this they have to work on it. But Arthur Harrow shows up, and Mark very quickly disarms Anton's man, and Harrow's trying to say, I can offer you more. And Harrow brings up the idea of Layla's father and that Mark knows more about her father's death than he's telling her.
Right. And
So,
you got to wonder, did Mark kill Layla's dad? Like, they're trying to make us ask that question.
well, he's trying to definitely make Layla think. I mean, we know from the comics that Layla's father Marlene and Marlene's father and Mark were all at the same site when Bushman did the massacre at that
Right.
point, and he killed Marlene's father. So are we going to see Bushman even here, or just something like, I just don't see Mark being the one to do the massacre. He's just not the one to
Yeah, maybe
portray
he
that.
was involved. Maybe he knows the truth of what happened,
Hmm.
or maybe he even suspects, but he's probably under the guise of withholding pain from her, withholding that information from her.
Yeah, but Harrow does destroy the sarcophagus at that point so that the tomb can't be found by them. Concho arrives telling him to summon the suit, which I love that phrase now, summon the suit.
Yes.
And you get this awesome fight, and so much of throughout the whole thing, I'm just going, go random BS, go, and just throw
Go
stuff.
random. Yes. That shot of Moon Knight with the cape, straight
Oh,
out of a
yes.
comic panel where
Mhm.
like goes full on Crescent Moon. Just my only complaint is I wish it was like a half second longer. It
Yeah.
looks so cool. I really enjoyed the action in this scene. And we even got a little glimpse of Steven pushing his way through, trying to slow things down, calm down the violence a little bit. But he
Diplomatic solution,
right.
puts on the Mr. Knight suit.
Yes, and so I was happy to get to see that again. It didn't last very long, and I kind of had to laugh when he got stabbed as Mr. Knight. He's like, "Okay, you go back, take it back, take it back."
But he's protected again. It proves that his suit will still protect him even if it's not the Moon Knight suit, Mr.
Yep.
Knight's suit. It's all part of the same kind of
And Conchu had called
magic.
it his healing armor or something like that.
Yep, his healing armor. So I do like it that Layla reveals her necklace to actually be a Karama bits, which is basically, if you've seen the Batman, that's what happens in that film.
Yeah, yeah. And we saw similar thing with Moon Knight last episode, but it was cool the way she used that. I wanted to mention regarding Anton, or Midnight Man as he's known in the comics. It might be the last time we see him, but maybe not the last time we see of like his legacy. In the comics, Midnight Man has a son named Midnight, whom was Moon Knight's sidekick for a little while before he fell in with the Secret Empire in Round Robin, the Sidekick's Revenge, the Moon Knight story I always bring up.
Sidekick's Revenge.
So I had to definitely make sure we mention that.
No, it'll be good. Again, he throws the. I did really like, because I put this GIF in our GUA chat because I thought it was a perfect sequence with, you see Mark without wearing the mask, but it's still in the Moon Knight guise, and then yelling for Layla, and then just putting it right back on, and then just ripping everyone apart.
Mhm.
That was very cool sequence.
Yes.
But yeah, you see him throw his moonerang at at Anton. You hear it hit, no body. So no body means they're not dead.
I think it's clear. I think it's what's going to end up happening is if they filmed anything else, we'll obviously see it.
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't film anything else and they were like, maybe we'll bring him back in the future, those plans have obviously been scrapped. I bet we never see Anton again, even a recast Anton. I bet it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it'll be unfortunate, but again, understandable. So they're able to escape. They're in a car ride. And Layla's asking about their father, and he's trying to change the subject. I do like it that he's changing into all white hoodie. No, nothing like riffing on his own costume at that point in the guise. Kind of like Power Rangers back in the day. We're all going to wear the same color of our costumes. No one's going to suspect that.
Even more recently, like Clark Kent in Smallville, he just always has a blue shirt and a red coat or whatever.
Exactly. But in the desert, they try to piece together the map, and Steven does take over. And like we're saying, Layla's kind of getting sweet on Steven, and Steven's getting a little more confident about it because he knows what to do. And as Layla's getting ready to use the map they assembled, he's like, no, that's not going to work, because even if you can line up the constellation, stars move ever so slightly, so it's a meaning of 100 miles difference from where it actually could be. And then Khonshu shows up saying he can change the night sky. He remembers all the skies, all the night skies. He says he can change it to when the map was created, but it'll come at great cost. And I think we all know at that moment, at least I figured what that great cost was, is that he would, risk basically being imprisoned in stone. And so Steven transforms into Mr. Knight. He tells Steven that when the gods imprison him, to tell Mark to free him. They find the exact location of Emmett's tomb. But as he's doing this, the Ennead meet, creating this spell to imprison Khonshu inside a stone figure that resembles him. And as this is happening, Steven and Mark's powers are being removed until Khonshu is fully imprisoned. Which, again, they telegraphed that. It was kind of like they told us what that possibly would be at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what we expected to happen. And of course, they jump back into the Pyramid of Giza, which, for the record, is the same one that Steven was talking about to that little kid in episode 1. Arthur's like, "Can he hear us?" And they just say, "Well, we think so." So, of course, Arthur wants to get just a little good-natured taunting for his enemy there. Just going to make fun of you for a bit because I win and you lose, basically.
Yeah, I like the line that he says. He says that your torment forced me. I owe my victory to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like you said, it's taunting at that point. And you saw people probably I saw other people saying, why didn't you just smash it? I said, I think the reason he didn't smash it is because that's how you can free the thing. Because I think he would have done it if he wasn't confident in that fact.
I mean, because initially I thought he was maybe going to try and smash it too, and then the more I thought about it, I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. That's how you free him, because he says, "Tell Mark to free me." Khonshu says, "Tell Mark to free me." Mark's not magic; he doesn't have godlike powers on his own, and if he's cut off from the Moon Knight powers, but he can smash something. Notice he doesn't think Steven can do it.
I know, yeah. Don't tell the idiot to do it. Tell the one with the fist at that point. But it's interesting. The gods, again, trusting Arthur because, again, he was an avatar from Moon Knight, left, hates Khonshu. They hate Khonshu. Well, of course they're going to let him alone with it at that point. They have no reason to suspect that he's going to do something wrong.
Right. Again, they everything about this is like they're predisposed to believe Arthur. Mm-hmm. They're going to side with Arthur. That's all there is to it. Like, there's no other thing. There's no weirdness. Why is Arthur so special? He gets to be there. Well, because he's a former avatar, and they believe he was abused by his god that he was working with. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. So, do you think in the next episode do we see? I think we see the third personality in the next episode. I think we finally get the introduction.
I completely agree. I think it'll happen. By the end of next week's episode, we will know about it.
Because if we're not, he doesn't have Moon Knight's powers. I think we're going to go pretty much a whole episode without seeing Moon Knight.
And this is where, like, Snell was talking about it. They're going to say, well, we've gone the whole show without seeing Moon Knight because he's only been in 6 minutes or whatever it is total. I don't know what it is.
And good job on S-Bubs for getting all those stats together. Right. Bravo.
I will argue that he's been in it plenty. It's not like we've been waiting till the last episode to see the costume or anything like that. Sure. But maybe this will be a true Moon Knight-less episode because Khonshu's trapped, right? I've been wondering if we're going to get some kind of scene, kind of like Crazy Jane and Doom Patrol, of like them all talking inside the body, inside his brain. And maybe that's when they're going to discover that Jake is there, because we're going to see that suddenly, like, Jake is going to end up in front of a couple mirrors, and Steven will be in one and Mark will be in the other, and be like, wait, if you're here, who's there? Those kind of things.
Yeah. Who's primary, basically. Again, the pretty much consensus among the critics have been that the fourth episode is where they jump the shark in a good way. There are a lot of positives already about the fourth episode.
Yeah. And, the fourth and fifth episodes have been spoken highly of the previous shows too. So I'm not surprised to hear that. I've been like, kind of on the edge of like being careful of what Moon Knight related content I consume right now because so many reviewers did get all 4 episodes, and it's like, or those first 4 episodes. I'm like, I'm worried someone's going to slip up and say something. To their credit, so far nobody has.
Well, supposedly, I was listening to Phase Zero. Some people have apparently already seen episode 5 too.
I saw that like it accidentally got uploaded to the screener system or whatever.
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't know, I didn't get offered it, but I've had a couple Hulu screeners offered to me, but I've never had a Disney one, and so I'm like, where's my
What?
Moon Knight?
Hey, you know what, Disney? Again, we'll gladly embargo our stuff, but we'd love to
Yeah,
learn.
no problem.
But yeah, so you put out the Spidey call, the Spidey signal for the Moon signal. It will be appropriate. The Moon signal for and all the questions this week are Moon Knight related. So hit us with it.
Well, let's start with the Brockman. Do you think we will see an actual Mr. Knight, or is that look just the one that Steven will use? I think in this season or this series, and I believe it is said that they're like being submitted to award shows and stuff as a limited series. I believe for this limited series, it's just the look that Steven has. It's his version of the costume. Down the line, maybe that'll change.
Yeah, I think we said it kind of the last episode, and both of us said that, you know, this is what Steven interprets when he says put on the suit. And so this is him trying to grow as a person. He's not going to be Mark. He's not going to be this other personality, Jake. He's going to be, this is going to be kind of how he perceives himself. And you put on the suit, this suit at that point, it's gaining the confidence. It's understanding like he's trying to be the diplomatic person. Will he take on a little bit more of the Mr. Knight persona? Maybe, you know, we've talked with Travis being our big Moon Knight, resident Moon Knight, guru in the GUA. As he said in Geekverse, he's disappointed being as big of a Moon Knight fan that he's not getting more of the more quote unquote comic accurate portrayals. But this is not outside what Disney's done with taking these adaptations or making it their own. Not necessarily those of us that have been Moon Knight fans for a while, not necessarily what we were expecting, but it's not bad. It's not necessarily something that, was just way out of left field. But again, I think that as I told him, I said, no, it's a valid criticism at that point, but you're not saying it's completely like crap,
My thing is, I like Mr. Knight in the comics. I like the mindset, the demeanor, the way he carries himself, the brutality that character shows. At the same time, this fits. This fits their version of Steven.
Yeah.
This fits their version of the show. It does make sense. So while I would like the comic version, I'm okay with this also. Maybe if you gave me the choice before the show ever came out and I could magically make the show whichever way, I'd say sure, go with the comic route. But this for me is at least working. So I said it last week. I don't want it to just be like we only got that 10 seconds and that was it, right? Okay, so now we got 10 seconds this week, but we got a little bit last week. Yeah. Now I am starting to believe we will get a little bit more, and that is what I want.
And again, like you said, it because I remember when that first image came out where we was, oh my God, we're getting the Mr. Knight persona in this, and that first thing was like, that's a big leap considering that this is an origin story. We're already getting Mr. Knight. So now understanding that it's basically the suit, not necessarily quote unquote Mr. Knight, it fits for this story. It fits for what Steven is representing for his own version of quote unquote Moon Knight.
Absolutely.
So
from S-Bubs, do you think Layla will become Moon Knight or the Avatar of Khonshu at any point during the show? Goes on to say, I think it could happen kind of like how Venom was temporarily in Anne in order to save Eddie, who had been separated in the first Venom movie.
I like that idea. I would like a payoff to that line in that episode, because I think that was one thing that was really worrying to Mark and why he was trying to keep Layla out of it. And now Layla is anything but now directly going to be continuing on with this. So that I would like maybe at least a hint, at least a payoff to that threat.
I think that is exactly how it will work if we see her summon the suit, suit up. Nobody says that anymore. If we see her summon the suit, then I do think it'll be like that. It'll be a temporary thing, primarily to get them out of a quick jam, and then it'll be done.
Yeah, like Mark, Steven, Jake are indisposed, and Khonshu is left with, a choice, at that point. He can't get to them, so Layla is the next option.
Yeah, like they're unconscious or something. They'll
Mhm.
wake up just in time to see her kicking ass as Moon Knight, and for Mark to get all pissy about it, and then things will go back to normal.
And I'll tell you what, I have seen some amazing women cosplayers cosplay already, putting it out there. Their cosplay stuff for Moon Knight and Bravo. There's some amazing
Good.
suits they're putting out there.
All right, from Anthony, DC Outlaw. He says, I find it interesting how the only other MCU thing Moon Knight has referenced so far is from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Do you think there's more to it, like a team up or cameo from the new Cap? What do you think?
Hmm. You think that there's more to it, like the team up cameo with New Cap? What do you think he means by that one? That part of it, the question's kind of confusing me.
Well, like they've made a point of saying like this is definitely a show you can watch without having all the history of the MCU. You don't have to have seen a thing from the MCU to
True.
know that, like to understand everything about the show, because so far, unless I'm mistaken, the only references to the MCU at large is the Madripoor reference in the GRC sign.
Mhm.
Like that's
I
it.
mean, heck, they don't even mention the snap. I mean, this is one of the first shows we've seen or projects that doesn't even directly reference the snap
Right.
or the
The
blip.
snap, the blip, neither have been referenced. People have talked about it because that passport that we saw of Mark's in episode 2 basically showed like he was around in December 2018 after Infinity War. But
Yeah.
I'd like to remind everybody we just watched a fake passport get made, so that doesn't mean much to me. I need more than that to know whether or not he got blipped, which is always a question with these new characters. Did they get blipped? I don't know. I could see, let's put it this way. I don't see anything happening in the show proper. Maybe a credit scene, but even that I wouldn't bet on it because I think other characters and credit scenes, if there are connections in those, are more likely.
They've been very specific. They've been very careful and frequently saying that this takes place when they say outside the MCU. It's not like saying it's not in the MCU sacred timeline. It's as we said, you don't need to watch anything else. So you will get those references, but this is a show that doesn't need to directly connect right now.
Right.
Could it, like you said,
Every other show has built off the history of the MCU. This
yeah.
is the first true one that doesn't. Even What If, which are technically new characters, is building off the history of the MCU.
Mhm.
This is the first true one that doesn't do that. They're starting from right now.
And even the showrunners have said, like, even though Disney Plus has already put it on the timeline being after Hawkeye, I mean, the showrunners said, we really don't know where this exactly takes place.
Yeah, I saw that they were basically not told where it was taking place,
Mhm.
which to me means it's ambiguous enough that it doesn't matter. Like they can slot it in wherever they want.
And they could headcanon it and retcon it because, like, hey, well, there's no real hints on it. Yeah, the GRC, it could, yeah, okay. Hawkeye's the first, no, excuse me, Falcon Winter Soldier's first one to reference it. Could have taken place before it. Could have taken
All
place
we
after it.
all we know for sure is the show takes place post in game
Yeah,
because of the GRC's
correct.
existence.
Yep.
That's all we know. Like we don't know anything beyond that, and I'm okay with that. Do we think there's more? I don't know. I will tell you this: I'd almost rather see him team up with Bucky than with Sam. Bucky, I mean, just imagine like the situation where Bucky could go all Winter Soldier while Moon Knight's going all Jake, if you will, and that could be fun to watch.
Yeah, as Bub's saying, I think there's a female Moon Knight in a Spider-Man 2099 comic. Yeah, I think that that would track.
Google would agree.
Okay, there we are. So, got one last question.
Yep, from Mike Alexander. It says, I've heard Oscar Isaac is only contracted for 6 episodes. Do you think he's one and done or playing the long game for better pay in future projects and other shows and appearances? I don't think there'll be a season 2, but I also don't think this is the last of him. Is it possible season 2 we would see Khonshu pick a new avatar who would also show up potentially elsewhere if Oscar Isaac was done? What do you think?
I think this is going to be, yeah, because I think they've already, the way they're submitting stuff at this point, this is a limited series. I think this is going to be Oscar Isaac is going to come back. I think he's not a fool. I think he's done the Star Wars thing, but people were very surprised because of how bad he was not a fan of how that whole series ended. It's like, oh my gosh, you're jumping into the MCU. Different people are in charge, different players are in charge. I think he really does like and enjoy. He got a lot of freedom. He got a lot of input with this. That's kind of, someone like him at that point. He's not going to be the face of the MCU. So that's also helpful to him to say, yeah, I think I can stick around, but as he said before, let's see how this thing goes. I want it to be successful. I want to see what's next on the table. I put it out there that the next time we're probably going to see him is maybe Werewolf by Night. You know, the he doesn't have to be as forthcoming about what, if there's a new deal or part of it was maybe can we sneak in a cameo in there for that? You know, I do not think this is going to be. I think call it the long game, call it negotiating tactics. When was the last time? Do you remember any time, Brent, that we had a leading character in any film or project that was it, one and done?
Edward Norton's the only one. And even
Okay,
it wasn't the character, it was the actor.
correct. It was the actor. So, but the character of Bruce Banner continued.
Yeah. Every other character who has led a show has appeared in later. You know what? Unless somebody really wants to nitpick me and say, like, Shang-Chi technically has only appeared in one,
Okay,
The Eternals have only appeared. You're right. You got me on that. Got me on that. No, so will we see Oscar Isaac again? Yes, I am completely confident that we will see him again. Will we see a Moon Knight season 2? No, I don't think that's the case. I think he's done as leading a TV show. So I see basically 3 scenarios. One, he headlines a movie. It wouldn't surprise me if he was contracted, like part of his contract was, you're doing a show and then we're going to give you a movie. I think he's a big enough star. I think he could, pull that. And so that I think is on the table. Number 2 is he's a team up guy. He's now going to show up in the team ups. Maybe, possibly that could be it, where he's going to appear in other things, but he doesn't want to be as committed for his time. He wants to be able to do other projects, stretch his acting legs, if you will. Also possible. Or number 3, he's in a show, but it'll be like the Midnight Suns one that so many of us think is coming, and it'll be a show, but he's not the lead. It's part of an ensemble cast. Those are the scenarios I see. I do not believe for a second that we are done seeing Oscar Isaac.
You do not get the talent of someone like Oscar Isaac without necessarily saying we want you to stick around. That is not a bad thing to do. Look what we've done. Look what it did for Robert Downey Jr. Oscar Isaac is a lot different in the sense of not rehabilitating career. He is hitting high mark after high mark, part after part. He is an outstanding actor. He's done X-Men. He's done Star Wars. Now we're coming back to Marvel, to the MCU at this point. Moon Knight is not, again, as I was saying before, it's not going to be the face of the MCU. It's a different phase. But here's the thing. People say, oh, the only season we've ever got a season 2 coming is Loki. We have to remember that the Marvel's vast array of characters, events, if you keep on putting out to saying we're going to get season 2 of this, season 2 of this, they've got a lot of other content they got to put in Disney Plus. We'll just put Star Wars out there. It's got to be a push and flow. So if you want to get new characters, new audiences, new people into this, yeah, you're going to want to have a couple of things of maybe multiple seasons, but you can't have too many because then you can't put out and introduce people to these new characters and ideas.
Right. So you have things like Ms. Marvel is going to introduce us to Kamala Khan, and then she's going to show up in the Marvels, right?
There you go.
You introduce her in her project, and maybe she will get a season 2, but you introduce her in her project so you can expand the world, expand the universe, to use their own phrasing, to make things bigger. And that's what I think we're doing. Like, not every one of these shows can get a season 2. And frankly, as somebody who likes long-form television, like long-form storytelling, multiple seasons, I definitely dig that stuff. They are limiting themselves if they're only going to look for seasons. Like WandaVision, if that had to be something that could go for 4 seasons, it wasn't going to work, right? They wouldn't have told that story. If Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like there's not room for that many seasons before he picked up the shield and became Captain America, right? Like, I am all about these little seasons because if nothing else, to me, it's just like getting another solo movie. It's just this solo movie happens to be 5-6 hours long.
And again, other people have said it. Your former co-host on Fans Without Borders. A lot of these are people say these shows are just long are movies just broken apart at that point. I think that's fair. I can see that in some parts, but these are the past couple of shows have been setups for the next thing. WandaVision sets up Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. Falcon and the Winter Soldier set up Captain America 4. I'm okay with that. I don't need to see another season of Falcon and Winter Soldier WandaVision. Well, I want one. Great. I don't need to see it because guess what? They're going to be in their next bigger project down the
As,
line.
to me, they just need to tell a story.
Yeah.
WandaVision does have an ending to that story.
Yes.
And so just because it's going to be followed up on later doesn't mean there's not. Like that, to me, that's important. So the difference with Loki is they planned it for a second season. Okay, you get a pass. You didn't have to end it because TV seasons have cliffhangers.
Especially the way there's still a lot of stuff that is not a resolved ending by any stretch of the imagination.
Right. And nor should it be because they gave us season 2. Hawkeye, ending. It's an ending. If they want to come back and do a season 2 of Hawkeye, they can. But at this point, that story is wrapped up.
And again, being honest with that, Moon Knight is not a character that has a very huge rogues gallery. It does not have a huge necessarily a lot of big events until recently under Jason Aaron. Moon Knight's kind of gained some popularity back at that point. It's not because again, he's not been the most popular, and now he's going to bring up to the forefront. Great, but we'll see Moon Knight again. Oscar Isaac will be back. It may just be a little bit, and maybe as Bub said, and I've said, maybe this October we'll see him again. So
I still think that there's a really good chance of that, and I hope it's true. Like I said a week or two ago, because Moon Knight was introduced in Werewolf by Midnight. Let's return the favor.
Yeah, let's do it. So, all right. Anything else you want to say about this episode before we transfer to the news?
I feel pretty good about it. I think we're good to move on.
All right, so let's take that second ad break, listeners. As always, these ads keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on. They can be a bit loud. Give you that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right, so we got a couple of news items. This one is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. Iron Man Disney Plus spinoff Ironheart gains directors and producers. Ryan Coogler and his producing banner Proximity Media have joined the creative team of Ironheart, Marvel's Disney Plus series, featuring the titular character, Iron Man adjacent character. At the same time, the show has firmed up its filmmaking talent, hiring Sam Bailey and Angela Barnes as their directors. Coogler will, along with Proximity cohorts, will serve as executive producers, along with Marvel Studios' Kevin Feige and Luis de Esposito, Victoria Alonso, and his team. And going down the line, Bailey is the co-director of the Emmy-nominated Brown Girls and the creator of the Gotham-nominated You're So Talented, which premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival. She served as the producer and director of the final season of Netflix's Dear White People and was their director of the previous season of the show. Barnes counts episodes of Mythic Quest, One Day at a Time, Blind Spotting, and the upcoming season 4 of Atlanta among her numerous credits. She was also behind the viral Get Your Booty to the Pole video campaign. Bailey will also will direct episodes 1 through 3, while Barnes will helm the back half, episodes 4 through 6. Let's see some interesting things about this. Marvel Studios' first 3 shows, WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and Loki, all utilize one director for their season's full run. Multiple directors were first toyed with in live action for Hawkeye and this show, Moon Knight. While 4 of Marvel's 2021 live action streaming shows were met with overall satisfaction, Marvel may see stronger success by dividing the workload. Kate Herron emphasized that she had given it her all regarding all 6 episodes of the series, and considering that the streaming runtimes can upwards triple the theatrical release, maybe even Herron and Falcon Winter Soldier, Carrie, what's her name? Showrunner Carrie Scallard.
Oh. I'd have to.
Scaglin, and Mark Shankman.
Carrie Skoglund, okay.
Yeah, Skoglund, yeah. I mean, again, I don't think it's about not necessarily having faith in just one person doing it, but as I said, like the workload is immense to do this. So having kind of a division of the workload and having like-minded individuals of what the end goal is going to be for this, it I think it's worked quite well for Moon Knight. I think it worked very well for Hawkeye. I don't see a problem with this moving forward with Ironheart.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's a lot to put on one person, and when you have the right person and they want to do it, okay, great. But I would also think that having multiple directors would speed up production because now each director, yeah, they obviously have to work together in an overall view of what's happening in the others' episodes, but they mainly can focus on their 2 or 3 episodes. So on, and plus in this case, I'm not surprised that Coogler is involved with his production company on this. I think it's great news. I kind of wondered if that would happen when we found out Ironheart was going to be in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, in fact, one of the actors that was cast in it kind of let that one slip a little early.
Yep.
So it wasn't a complete surprise, but it's nice hearing it confirmed and getting the director. So again, we're hearing more casting about Ironheart. So I don't know. Have they said filming is when that's going to start yet?
I haven't seen anything on it.
Okay, I think
it's got to be getting close though. If we've got our star, if we're getting producers, we're getting directors, they got to be getting close.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of, again, this is the calling card. A lot of people use this as a stepping stone for what's next. Shankman is finding more success with, I think, isn't he helping write Quantumania?
I think that's right. I'd have to verify that, but that sounds right.
Skagland, it was hired for Gal Gadot's Cleopatra, and no, I take it back. Shankman was given the reins for the next installment of the Star Trek franchise. That's.
I could have sworn I heard his name on something else for Marvel too. Though
you're right. You're right. I think both. But again, if he's sticking around for Marvel and doing Star Trek, I mean, again, these are the calling cards saying, "Hey, you do a great job. You write your own ticket."
Sure, and it was at the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Malcolm Spellman he's doing Cap 4.
Yes, Cap 4. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yes, like you're involved in these shows. It goes well. You get to stick around, and to me, that's great because it's a sign of confidence that Feige and Alonso and D'Esposito all have in the team that they're putting together.
And a lot of people just can't stand working for Kevin Feige, right?
Well, I mean, clearly he treats people horribly, right? I mean,
yes,
that's what every single person tells you.
They want to stick around Marvel, but so again, Ironheart's moving.
Follows the blueprint, right?
Exactly. # Madam Web is the blueprint. Got to sneak that in. So, all right. Well, Brent, I'm going to turn this one over to you because you're, as always, our box office guru. What happened to Morbius' second weekend?
It bombed. That's what happened. Oh my gosh. Like 74% second week drop. Usually like something in the 50s is considered spectacular. Most Marvel things end up in the 60s. Most DC things end up in the 60s. Like that is the common area, is somewhere in the 60s. 73%, 74%, something like that. Oh my gosh. It's at 128 million worldwide right now. Not horrific. Again, that budget was reported at 75 million. So depending on which kind of rule of thumb you want, it's got to get somewhere between 2 to 3 times the budget to break even. So they're looking for like somewhere between 150 and 225 is that break even point, depending on how much they spend on marketing, what Sony's cut for, because it can change movie to movie, what Sony's cut is with the distributors on this movie, or with the exhibitors, I should say, because they're the distributor. With AMC, like how much of each ticket goes to Sony and how much of each ticket goes to AMC and all the different exhibitors around the world, somewhere in that ballpark, 2 to 3 times. Is it going to get there? It's going to get to that 2 times. I mean, they're only about 20 million away from Morbius. It's going to get to that double the production budget. 3 times? I don't know. But in my opinion, this movie is not going to lose money. It might lose money if it never gained another $1 when its theatrical run was over, but it's not going to lose money in the long run because there's still, and everybody does forget this, there's money that comes in from licensing to streamers or whatever the pay one window is, which this is going to be Netflix, because when it came out, like, this will go to Netflix.
Yeah,
and
it goes to Netflix first, yeah.
It's part of the money that they're getting off of Netflix. So part of that licensing will be attributed to this. There's always the people who are going to buy the Steelbooks. There's the people who are going to buy it on iTunes and stuff. And I know you're already saying you're not going to buy the Steelbooks, but no judgment. Okay, little judgment, but really no judgment. There's a Marvel logo on it. People will buy the $35, $40, whatever they cost steelbooks.
I will not
get
be
it.
I will not be the person to tear someone down to say they really enjoyed Moon Knight. Great. It wasn't for it. Again,
Morbius.
it wasn't what's that?
You said Moon Knight. Morbius.
Oh, Moon Knight. Yeah, sorry. Morbius. I will not be the person to tear down someone to say, how could you like Morbius at that point? Again, we said it on our review. It's fine. It's not necessarily my thing I'm gonna be going back to, but it we still don't have that answer. Is that does that 75 million consider all the COVID delays and COVID stuff, you know?
And that's why I tend to think they probably need to get, I'm guessing they need to get closer to that 3x. Christopher Evans says, I think it'll find its audience once it hits home. Here's the thing. It's a short movie. It's well under 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's easy. It's not exactly a deep thinker. It has Netflix and chill written all over it.
You can turn off your brain, right?
You can turn off your brain and just
watch it.
Watch it. Absolutely. It's I mean, think about it. Like, there are going to be a lot of people who see this movie on Netflix for the first time. And for that, when the barrier to entry is so low, all it is what, an hour and 45 minutes of your time. Mm-hmm. It's fine. Just like I said in the review, it's fine.
Yeah, it is fine. You know, here are several examples of excellent second weekend drops from other superhero movies.
Excellent. Yeah.
Excellent. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, 54% drop in
That's
weekend
amazing.
2. The Batman, 50.4. Black Panther,
so
44.7.
That's unreal.
Wonder Woman, 43.3. Here's even more unreal. Joker, 41.9.
Insane.
So, but again, you know, when it comes down to it, it's not about cheering or cheering the demise of Sony or doing that. Because again,
some people are definitely cheering for the demise of Morbius. Let's be real.
You know what? If they are, fine. I mean, it's I don't get any giggles out of that at that point. It's not my monkey, not my circus. But it shouldn't be much of a surprise to see that Morbius absolutely cratering at the box office, because not only did Sony's newest entry get the honor of receiving one of the few C+ grades of cinema score for a superhero blockbuster, but it also garnered a less than 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. Say what you say about Rotten Tomatoes, it still matters to the general audience, because they do look at that. I mean, again, we know the truth about Rotten Tomatoes, but the general audience just sees that score and they make a decision. Whether right or wrong, it is what it is. But will Sony be able to, you know, we said they're going to make a profit, but it's just a question of how much, and will it be enough to justify moving forward? I don't see Sony necessarily completely abandoning their plan right now over this. It should give them pause, but what worries me a little bit is the future of what's going on. And I kind of put these questions, you know, will this lead to them reevaluating the plans, particularly for Madam Web, because the writers of Morbius are writing Madam Web.
I think they need to desperately get Toby or Andrew on board immediately as like universe salvaging thing. They need to get them on board. But here's what I'm genuinely expecting from Morbius. No more solo projects. He might show up in something. He might show up in Venom or Sinister Six or whatever. I don't necessarily think we've seen the last of him, but nothing else with his name in the title. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but he's team up now. He ain't solo.
And I don't even know if it'll be in the marketing. When Kraven comes out from the studio that brought you Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage, they're not going to mention Morbius. But
that is
hashtag Brent told you so. They are not going to mention it.
That is a great fact or fiction. That is an outstanding.
I will add it to my fact or fictions for tonight.
Yeah. Put that out there. We'll make that official, because I like that idea. So moving forward, so that when Kraven comes out, the trailers will not have Morbius mentioned as from the studio that brought you. It'll do Venom, Venom 2, No Way Home. Morbius will not be there. Wow, that'll be really telling.
I mean, yeah, No Way Home, Spider-Man Homecoming. If we find out by then Toby or Andrew's coming out from the studio that brought you The Amazing Spider-Man, from the studio that brought you Spider-Man 2, you know, like that, I think would actually be really, really great marketing if they did that. Morbius the most recent one will not be mentioned at all.
Yeah, Venom is a definite. They will mention it because Venom's a success, both of them. So yeah, wait and see. But yeah, as you said last week, I agree with you this week. A lot is riding on Craven right now. A lot is riding on that movie.
I mean, honestly, Madam Web could be writing on Craven, depending on when the production and stuff goes. It's like it. To me, a foolish thing for Sony to do would be jump in feet first and just go ahead with their whole planned slate. Right? That would be dumb at this point. Like, why would you plan that ahead? Because
But
you
what
don't
they
have the track record. You need to get another win, and you need to get a win outside of Venom. Venom's a win. They need a win outside of Venom.
But what they don't need to do is pull a Warner Brothers and say after one movie or 1.5 or 2 movies to say, shoot, we need to change everything.
They just need to slow down. They need to
Yes.
pause. Nobody's saying to do Warner Brothers, like that's a horrible idea. Nobody's saying to follow their track record on this either, but they need to pause. They have Marvel Studios have proven they can go full steam ahead with their slate.
Mhm.
Sony, whatever they're calling their universe, has not proven that to this point. They can go ahead with Venom 3, absolutely. Craven's in production. They probably should not be they should never have more than 2 movies in production at once unless one of them is Venom.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
And again, it's one of these things that they have to say, okay, how Marvel, with what they did in phase 1 at that point, no one could have predicted that level of success.
No.
Nobody
And they didn't have that level of success until the last movie of phase 1. Everybody forgets that. Like Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, Thor, none of those were sure things.
So the fact that, okay, so you had Venom and Venom 2, which were not necessarily critically acclaimed because they weren't, but the audiences loved it.
But between them, you're talking about $1.3 billion on
exactly.
something like $200 million combined budget.
Yes, exactly. So the audience, they've got a winner with that. Morbius, okay, they took a swing. It didn't work out.
They missed off the T-ball.
They did, as you said in the review, did they get the essence of the character right? Yes. Could you still have Morbius appear and still work well with what if they're building up this Sinister Six? Yes. You can do it. Again, it's just, okay, what do we learn from Morbius that we need to not do with Craven? That is what
better editing on the film.
a lot of, again, take the lessons that you learn from Morbius and fix them for Craven. You just that is what I need them to do. So I want success for them. I do. I really do. Because again, people think, oh, work for Sony's demise because then Marvel will buy them out. No, that's not happening. Disney's not going to buy them. Sorry, not happening.
It would be a poor business move. It would be a poor business move for them to buy Sony. They probably couldn't buy Sony with regulators right now, but just to buy Spider-Man,
they don't need it. They don't.
If you want Spider-Man to go back to Marvel proper at this point, like Sony entirely has to fold basically for that to happen. They have to go bankrupt for that to happen. It's the only way it's happening.
And the deals they've made with Netflix and Disney show that they're not going anywhere anytime soon. They made their streaming deals. They're not going anywhere. That was a survival move. If they did not make those deals, then you would have a talking point of Sony might fold. You might. The fact they made those deals, they're going to be around for a bit.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So last little small news, a second Sony hack, maybe S-Bubs, maybe.
What was that movie? The Interview? The Interview Part 2 or whatever now?
Yep. We don't talk about one of those actors anymore.
No, that's true.
Doctor Strange 2 update reveals how Marvel will avoid spoilers from leaking. Maybe. We're going to put maybe. Collider editor-in-chief shared on Twitter that the social media embargo for Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness will lift on Monday, May 2nd. Says the first time anyone will see the movie is Monday night, May 2nd, which is the world premiere. The social embargo lifts after the screening. The review embargo lifts Tuesday, May 3rd at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This is due to spoilers. We've known for over the past number of years, fans of scoopers have been relentless to the point of you and I have had to change our show to avoid.
The press has revealed spoilers.
I know.
People at these screenings have revealed spoilers.
And so they're doing as much as possible to say, okay, we're not talking about my kids are now getting into content. We're not talking about Bruno. We're not talking about spoilers until the embargo lifts after the world premiere. That's as probably the last thing that they could, as late as they can go. Because guess what? Here's the thing. They don't need an early screening but that week. They don't. You're People will go. People are at this point, they've earned the credibility. You're going to see this movie.
And there are people who say like the later the embargo, the worse the sign it is, or the reverse is you're like, oh, the embargo lifted a month before it came out. They're so confident, right? That might be true for other studios. Marvel has now proven that they will hold back on embargoes as long as they can.
Because
They've proven that they will do that.
They saw what happened with, like, they can't even trust Variety.
And you know what? I'm going to say, thank God it was Eternals that happened, right?
Yeah.
Because you know, no slams on the movie or whatever, but it's a smaller property. It's super obscure. There is way more writing on Doctor Strange. Way more writing.
Yeah. Well, to your point, Chris saying, I feel they've already revealed something massive with the first trailer. Stewart, it's about controlling the narrative.
So what are they holding back then?
Yeah. So they put out that they control the narrative, even though, even on the show we talked about Scoopers talking about, that's happening, but they put it out there for the general audience. So again, the general audience doesn't know all this stuff that we talk about on the show every week. They don't. They see Marvel movie. They say, oh yeah, we're going to see it. Oh, wait a minute. I know that voice, Patrick Stewart. You put that out there. You control the narrative for what the general audience sees and knows.
I love this move. And selfishly, I will be less at risk to be on social media and stuff because less people will have seen it. Mm-hmm. And you know what? It's still going to be on me. If I get spoiled in that time, it's on me for going to being on Twitter or TikTok or wherever that close to it. Like, I'm not blaming anyone. It's still my choice.
Yeah, no.
But selfishly, I will still like that it's going to help me at least. It's going to help me be able to still be on social media, which I enjoy, and avoid spoilers at the same time.
Mm-hmm. It's part of our thing. It is our responsibility. But again, I totally understand people that need to be on Twitter for jobs and their careers, stuff like that. Yeah, it is a minefield, and it is something that is unavoidable. But the fact that Disney's saying, you know what, we're going to do everything possible at that point to Monday night, the week of the release week, is when the first things you're going to hear about this. So it's basically, it's as best that they can do at this point. And people keep on saying like they should take credentials, they prevent people to do it. Yeah, sure, but you're not going to keep Variety out of, a world premiere. I'm sorry, they're not going to do that. You can keep people.
You can keep that individual. You could tell Variety that individual is not allowed. But people expecting Variety to get blackballed, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Can't believe they put Deadpool on the poster. Another massive spoiler. True, yeah.
I mean, maybe, who knows? There's that movie studio that was doing their own little promotion for it and said it might have Deadpool.
S-Bubs, you saw those new posters at that point. All that red mist, again, Mephisto confirmed. I'm telling it right now. That red mist, that's Mephisto. he's backtracking because he thinks I'm joking, but even if he's not on the poster, they'll get talking about something that may or may not be in the movie. Yeah. And Katie's in the chat. I have Variety muted specifically for that reason. Again, you're taking responsibility. Exactly. Just like we mute people that we don't agree with and don't want to know about it or drop spoilers. Again, I've muted a certain spoiler because Scooper, just because I don't want things anymore spoiled. I don't need to hear anything anymore from that person. So, but all right. Well, our March, what are we now going to be 3 weeks away?
It's really, really
close. 3 weeks. 3 weeks away. I've got my ticket. You've got your ticket. A lot of people got their tickets.
I have 2 tickets. 22 days away.
22 days away. Yeah. But who's counting? All right. So that is all the news at this point. So yeah, let's take our last ad break as we head into Fact or Fiction Comic Book Club at that point. So as you know, listeners, these ads, again, keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose when ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. So give you that 3 count to turn that volume down before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right. So you said we did not have any non-Moon Knight questions, correct?
Correct. Nope. Everything right. I saw. So if you asked one, listener, and I missed it, I apologize. Send it to me again. Feel
Yep.
free to DM him to me if you want to, because I'm
Yeah,
definitely not going to get lost there.
we'll make him up to you next week. All right, so I'm gonna head to the fact or fictions from me last week. Number one, in Craven the Hunter, it will be Dr. Michael Morbius recruiting him and Chameleon to the Sinister Six, not Adrian Toomes. And that was 44% said fact, 56% said fiction. So yeah, some of the comments in the thread were quite interesting and funny. That fact or fiction. Number two, we will see live action Miles Morales as Spider-Man before we see Andrew and or Toby return to the role. This was a big one. 59% said fact, 41% said fiction. Someone says, assuming Adam Webb ever releases. Oh, that movie will release. That will release. Or will it to existence. And number three, the next appearance of Moon Knight in Phase 4 will be the Werewolf by Night's Halloween special. 57% said fact and 43% said fiction. All right. So besides your calling out that Craven the Hunter in the trailer.
Let's get it on the record. When
Okay,
Craven
get it on the
comes
record.
out, when Craven comes out, the marketing will not include anything along the lines of from the studio that brought you Morbius.
I say fact.
Fact.
Yep.
Done.
On the record.
On the record. It's official now. It's going in those. Okay. So the first one that I had came to the show prepared with, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness will have a reference or more to Shang-Chi or the Ten Rings.
So one more time. Say that again.
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness will reference Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. I'll phrase it that way. It might be the Ten Rings. It might be Shang-Chi. It could be Katie for all we know. Just some sort of reference. It's probably not Katie.
I'm going to say fiction. Just the reason I'll say fiction on this one is because of what the premise of the movie is specifically dealing with. It doesn't necessarily strike me as anything that the Ten Rings have to be related to this to tie in. I just don't see it right now.
I am going to say fact.
Okay.
Only because of the credit scene of Shang-Chi, specifically having Wong bring him in.
I get that. I totally that is definitely fair at that point. I just what the rings represent, what are they doing? I'm not sure how that ties in to the multiverse right now.
We'll find out.
Yeah. So yeah.
All right. The next Daredevil project will include the return of Deborah Ann Woll, Karen, and Eldon Henson Foggy.
My heart's gonna say yes. Sorry, I can't. My head can't stop me from this one. Sorry, it's gonna be fact.
I have to give it a fact as well. I am a little more confident about Deborah Ann Woll, only because when the show went to Disney Plus, she promoted it. I did not see anything about Eldon Henson promoting it. So I'm a little more like if I were to split them up, I'm more confident about her. But I'm gonna say fact. Get the band back together. Bring them all in.
Yeah, please.
And then finally, this one I've questioned myself on repeatedly on the number here. I've settled on this. At least 3 of the 5 series leads from the Defender saga will appear in the MCU again. We already know one of them did.
Yep. So
I want you to know I almost said all of them, but then I was like, no, that's going to be.
Sorry, that's going to be rough.
It is. I'm settled on 3. At least 3 of them.
I will say fact. I will definitely say fact, and I'll say we know obviously Daredevil, Charlie Cox, Jessica Jones will be back, and
rumored. We don't know.
Rumored. No. I'm saying we'll be back.
Oh, that's who you think. Yeah, okay, yeah. So who do you think's the other one?
And I will say Bernthal. No, the defend. Oh, you said the Defenders. Okay.
Defender Saga, which is
Saga. Okay.
Disney Plus's.
Yeah.
The way they say it all. So yes, you could say Bernthal if you want.
Yeah, I'll say Punisher at that point. But yeah, I think even though I like Mike Coulter, they're going to recast, and they're definitely not bringing back Finn Jones.
I think it's a fact as well. I'm not so quick to write off Finn Jones. I have reservations about him. I have reservations about the work ethic that it's come out that he was willing to put in. But give him the right motivation, have the right meetings and everything, the right conversations, let's say, I would personally would give him a second chance. I do think I would.
The only reason I say no is again that we keep on saying bring out that representation matters and they can do better.
Absolutely.
They can do better and
And they
better.
did just introduce a new Iron Fist in the comics recently.
They did.
Too.
So I think that there's also a reason behind that. And I think they can do better and they should do better.
He is S-Bubs. Give Finn Jones the Garfield Spider-Man redemption arc. The Andrew Garfield one. Finn Jones is the reason that this is 3 out of 5 and not 5 out of 5.
Yes.
Because I'm not 100%. Luke is Mike Coulter is the other wild card.
Yes.
I tried looking. I don't think he's doing a ton right now. And so
he's done project. He's done.
He's worked, but I don't know if he's in a lot right now, especially if he's not doing so much where he couldn't pop up in something.
Correct.
Lead another project. No, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see Luke Cage season 3 coming anytime soon.
And again, it's not because
appearing in something. Sure.
Yeah, and it's not because Mike Coulter did a terrible job. No, he did an outstanding job as Luke Cage.
I just finished season 1 on my rewatch. I'm 2 episodes into Iron Fist, and yeah, Mike Coulter that season is so good.
Sweet Christmas.
Sweet Christmas. That's right.
All right, so we will have. That was your third, right?
Yep. That's all 4 of them. Total.
Yeah, 4 of them. Yeah. So we will have 4 for you all to choose from at that point on Sunday. We're gonna have a couple of polls coming at you on Sunday because, as promised, Brent and I realized a couple of days ago saying, "Oh, we forgot to talk this weekend about we got to get a new comic book club plan at that point," and it took us all about less than 60 seconds to come up with it. Actually, you to propose it. So what is our theme for this?
Anti-street, I guess, cosmic. Well, I was thinking about it. It's like, we've done what have we done recently? We're wrapping up a Spider-Man story.
Mm-hmm.
We had Hawkeye.
Yep.
We had, I'm now forgetting what the other one was right before that. I don't even remember what it was now. That's gonna bother me.
Oh God, that's gonna bug us all.
Regardless, I was like, we need to let's get out of the street levels. Oh, it was Daredevil. Yes. It was Daredevil. It was Born Again.
We just did it.
Yeah, that was before Hawkeye, or that was after Hawkeye. Regardless, those are we've been on the ground. Yeah. Let's go a little cosmic. Let's
faster, higher, farther, baby.
That's right. But no, we don't even have a Captain Marvel arc in this.
Nope. We don't. We don't.
Yes, higher, further, faster. That's right.
Higher, further, faster. So, all right. So we have selected 4 cosmic themed arcs from Marvel history at this point. So the first one is in release order: the Kree Skull War. This took place from 1971 to 72, 9 issues. Avengers 89 to 97. Written by Roy Thomas and penciled by Sal Buscema. The synopsis: a conflict of star-spanning proportions when Earth caught in the crossfire. For those eternal intergalactic enemies, the merciless Kree and the shape-shifting Skrulls have gone to war, and our planet is situated on the front lines. Can Earth's mightiest heroes and the Avengers bring about the end to the fighting between humanity before humanity becomes a casualty of war? And what good are even a dozen superpower champions against the vast military machines of 2 of the great empires of the cosmos? The key to victory lies with the expatriate Kree. Nope. Captain Marvel. There we go. Marvel will be showing up in that one.
Not the same thing.
Not the same thing. And his human host, the honorary Avenger Rick Jones. And so featuring talents of some of the best in the business. This, if I remember my knowledge, this is where supposedly the Illuminati started forming after this, if retcon serves.
I think you're right. They were definitely involved in this.
Well, I think they formed as a result of this, conflict. So that's number 1. The second choice: the original Secret Wars from 1984 to 1985, 12 issues, written by Jim Shooter and pencils by Mike Zeck and Bob Layton. Drawn from the Earth across the stars, and the Marvel Universe's greatest villains and heroes are set against one another by the mysterious and unbelievably powerful Beyonder, with the winner promised the ultimate prize. But as the battle lines are drawn, new alliances form and old enemies clash. One among them is not willing to settle for anything less than godhood. Can even the combined might of the Avengers, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men prevent this person from becoming the most powerful being in the universe?
You censored who it was.
I did.
I almost said who it was, so I'm glad I
Yep.
didn't.
Yep. I decided the last second. I said, up. If there's a choice,
There's going to be people who don't know.
Yeah, there are. Yep. So this is the original Secret Wars, not Hickman's update to the title. All right. Next, we start heading into the modern, what many, including
Secret
ourselves,
Wars. Secret Wars is Marvel's first big line-wide crossover, right?
in this form. Yes. Yes.
Okay. That's what I
Yep. Next one, the beginning, the first part of the modern cosmic trilogy, Annihilation. 2006 to 2007, 6 issues, written by Keith Giffen and penciled by Andrea DeVito. We're only doing the main thing. We're not doing the tie-ins. The tie-ins are amazing, but we're just going to do the main one for the main 6 issues for this.
Yeah.
One empire has fallen. 2 heroes are dead. It all comes together here. Individually, the Silver Surfer, Super Skrull, Ronin, and Nova have faced the Annihilation Wave and lost. Now they must unite those who remain or die by Annihilus's hand. The annihilation has only just begun.
Nova, what a scrub. No one cares about him.
I know, yeah. What a poser.
Absolutely.
And last, the conclusion of the trilogy of this. The one in the middle that we didn't choose because you have to read the first part is Annihilation Conquest. That was the second part. The last part, and man, this was epic in the sense of that it literally has, and it's right behind me, 3 omnibuses, a prelude, the proper, and the requiem. We are talking about War of Kings. This is 2009, 6 issues, written by Andy Lanning and Dan Abnett, and penciled by Paul Pelletier. In the aftermath of the Secret Invasion, Black Bolt has led the Inhumans on a shockingly savage path to restore their strength and security. But the path has been brought them into direct confrontation with the Shi'ar Empire and their mad ruler Vulcan. Who will get in their first strike? Who will fall on the bloody battlefield? Who will rule? The Imperial Guard, the Starjammers, the Inhuman Royal Family, and more of your favorite sci-fi characters are locked on a collision course.
I have, I don't know, an irrational love of the character for Vulcan. Like, I just really, really like Vulcan.
You are amongst the very few.
Oh, yeah, there's like 3 of us. But, like,
yeah.
Going back to what is it, X-Men Deadly Genesis, when Vulcan first shows up, like, I just really like that character. So I'm like, yeah, we're going cosmic. War of Kings, that had Vulcan in it. Let's do it.
I will tell you what, the way he is portrayed in Hickman, post Hoxpox at that point, he's quite fat. He's quite different.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so we will put those out on Sunday. We'll give you a couple of days to vote on it. You tell us what we are going to be reading next. And you know what? I have no dog, no pony in this race. I would be happy with any of them.
I was thinking that. I genuinely don't know which one I'm pulling for.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good with them all.
Yeah. So all right, we will let you know next week what you all voted for. Tell us what we're doing. So, all right, the penultimate chapter of Spider-Man, Spider Shadow, issue number 4. So, what'd you think of this issue?
I really like this issue. I thought the beginning of it was great, where basically Peter's trying to like get his bearings, figure out what's going on, get Jonah home safely, get MJ home safely. It's not lost on me that he pawns Jonah off on Black Cat. You go with her. I don't want to take you. Love Jonah's reaction to that. Of course, he still wants to be involved. But for me, he finds the Baxter building and is like overtaken by the symbiotes, right? Mm-hmm. And the Avengers are there on the ground. The interaction with Captain America, I freaking loved. I have always liked when Spider-Man and Captain America interact, but it's never like, I mean, I like it when Spider-Man interacts with anybody, let's be clear, but like that's always been like one of like the higher tier ones for me. It's just fun for me to see. And when Spider-Man tells Captain America like he's got it, he's not going to be overtaken again, trust him, I read that page 3 times. I love that page so much.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Was kind of like it was an issue kind of 2 parts. It was kind of like a setup. First half of it's kind of setting up, kind of getting our players together, kind of recapping where we're standing at this point. Spider-Man dealing with now everyone knows who he is thanks to Wilson Fisk's dying order at that point, and then getting into the Baxter building. One thing I did not like, and it hasn't really bothered me at all in the previous issues. I am not a fan of the art in this particular issue. The faces and stuff, it just they I'm not
Yes.
jiving with this issue. It just really brought it home. I don't know what about the other issues. It didn't really ring true. I read this issue twice, and the art was really a turnoff for me for this
Yeah,
particular issue.
I would have to agree overall. There is something off. There is something off specifically about the faces. And just to be clear, the faces without a mask. So like Captain America half and half. Like
Mhm.
I think he looks fine, but like Peter takes his mask off, or it's off at the beginning of the issue, or
MJ looks
MJ
freaking weird
or
at points.
MJ definitely looks weird. Like there is some weird shots. I'm with you on that. The broader or that more action driven panels I think look fine. There is something weird though about the close ups of the faces, which it's not the first time I've said that about a Spider-Man artist,
Mhm.
and so it probably won't be the last. But yeah, the faces, there's something off about it.
Yeah, but I mean, outside of that, that was the distracting part to me. I agree. I enjoyed this issue. It's definitely a decent setup at that point for the final confrontation. To what I mean, again, I really enjoyed. My favorite panel about this is Peter facing down Thing and saying like, "I'm angry, and when I'm angry, I'm unstoppable. No quips, no pulling punches." Ben can take it at that point and just totally rocks it until he gets himself rocked at that point. I can't hear you. Nope. Can it check? Can you hear Brent at all? Okay, so he'll pop back in, listeners. Well, we'll just wait for Brent to come back in at that point. So this is a first for the show.
Any better?
Yes, much better.
I'm
There we
back.
go.
Great.
There we go.
Don't know what happened there. Sorry about that, guys. This might get repeated on the audio version, but what I was saying is people forget like how powerful Spider-Man really is. His speed, his strength, his agility. You know, like he's really strong, and like people don't think of him that way. He's really fast. People don't think of him that way. Like no, he's not like to keep it a Marvel Quicksilver fast or the Hulk strong, but he is really, really, really powerful, and on top of all that his spider sense. And so yeah, like seeing him, like these kind of panels with Spider-Man are always fun to watch, where he just unleashes and goes to town.
Yeah. So a good ending, a good setup at that point. Again, like who is going to be kind of fighting at that point?
The at the end when he throws Thing out of the Baxter building, and you see like the Avengers and X-Men standing there, like I recognize that Iron Man's like in the Alpha Centurion armor or whatever. Like it's definitely an older armor. And then I'm like, see this shot of Jean and Scott, Marvel Girl and Cyclops, and I'm like, oh man, this is picking up where Spider-Man had the symbiote in the 80s and going from there. Of course the X-Men have these super old costumes. I just didn't think about that until we got to that page.
Yeah. But yeah, so we will conclude next week with number 5.
Yep.
So,
I'm looking
all
forward
right.
to it.
Yep, should be fun. So, all right. So yeah, we are volume 103 in the books. So again, want to thank our sponsor, organicpricebooks.com, again for all your omnibus collected edition needs. Use that code Marvel GUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. And Brent, tell people how they can follow you.
Brentak Prime on Twitter, on TikTok. I'm still screwing around on there. It's fun. It's more fun than Twitter, if I'm being honest. So that's where you can find me.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balga. You can follow the show on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can follow my other show at Finest Believers on Twitter. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network at GUA Pod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions. Continue to rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever platform of choice may be. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us in the chat. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right, Brent, what, post credits today, we were kind of having discussion about what ideas. So, we thought about it and say, hey, let's kind of talk about what we've been reading, Marvel comic related. So what have you been reading?
Well, Spider-Man, Spider Shadow. No, let's see. I've been reading. I had to look at my Marvel Unlimited to go back through and kind of see what all I had read recently. There's a new Captain America Iron Man miniseries that's coming out, and 2 issues of which have hit Marvel Unlimited. I've read the first one. It was okay. It didn't blow me away, but it was all right. I'm a couple issues behind on Amazing Spider-Man, but I'm still very much enjoying that as well. I was this weekend I read a couple. I'm all right, I'm caught up, or I'm almost caught up, and then they added another one on Monday. I'm well, okay, I'll get there. I mean, I'm looking at it. I'm 2 issues, I should say, behind. Not too bad. Shang-Chi. Have you read Shang-Chi versus the Marvel Universe?
I have not.
That the art's a little wonky, but the story has been pretty entertaining. It's basically like a tour of the Marvel universe. Every issue is him versus somebody else. I'm a couple behind on there. I just read issue 4, where it's basically him versus the Fantastic Four, and how he's not alone, let's say, but they don't exactly. He's, how do I put this? All the other heroes think that he is going villainous. Let's put it that way. It's not bad. Again, the art's not quite my style, but it works.
Yeah. I've been making my way. I've been doing Clay's kind of reading challenge at that point, so kind of tackling my backlog. But yeah, I've been pouring my way through Dawn of X and kind of catching up with Reign of X as well. So I've been reading all the trades that kind of follow that. Basically, each trade of Dawn of X and then forthcoming Reign of X at that point kind of puts the issues in the proper reading order, so that way you're kind of following as stories relate to each other and things like that. So but yeah, I've been reading that, been really enjoying it. I've just got through this past weekend X of Swords, or 10 of Swords, however you want to word it at that point. It was okay. I think I was more interested, and I gained a new appreciation for kind of the backstory of Apocalypse in this new kind of Hickman verse of Apocalypse's history and his family. So that was interesting. I've been rereading Daredevil, so I have finished the Bendis run. So I've got to start getting into gonna head myself into the Brubaker years at that point. Read Captain America White, the Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale story, part of the Color series at that point, and trying to kind of going through any kind of the rest of the Marvel stuff. I am going to start, I don't know when, but I've never been Fantastic Four has never been something that I said, oh, I really love Fantastic Four stories. So I'm probably going to either read Mark Waid's run of that, or I will just jump straight into Jonathan Hickman's
I knew
run.
It. Those are I almost said Waid or Hickman. Which one are you going with?
Yep. I'm going to do both. It's just, I know Waid comes before Hickman, but I know you don't necessarily have to read Waid before Hickman. So.
No, I've only read some of Waid's, but I read Hickman's run, and my guess is that you would appreciate it.
Yeah.
Did you see this question from All in the Game in the chat?
No, I did not.
What non-MCU shows have you been watching? Does Daredevil count?
I don't know.
How about what non-Marvel shows have you been watching?
I guess just any shows that aren't MC, any shows at that point.
Yeah.
I've been watching Euphoria.
On my list.
On your list at that point. Oh, hello.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, look who's joined us.
And we can't hear him.
And
He's talking and we can't hear him.
He's talking and we can't hear him.
Travis, the same thing just happened to me.
Yeah. He's gonna have to punch out and punch back in. Oh, look at those crazy
I'm
eyes.
back. I'm
He's
back.
back.
Oh my gosh, he's back.
I have to say, good evening, gentlemen. I was about to
Good
for Geek First, and I saw this was still going on, and then I saw Only Games question. What I have to recommend is I know Brent will not watch it because he hates the character, but one day, Brent, once you have watched the MCU 50 million times,
Watch Legion, probably.
once you have watched the MCU 50 million times, and they go, you know what? Maybe I got to watch something new. Everyone give Legion a chance. Now, the reason I'm also saying this, if people love the weird stuff that's going on in Moon Knight right now, it's a very trippy, like, question mystery box type of show. Every episode, like, what the hell is going on? Even Professor X makes an appearance. Lots of good stuff happens in it, Brent. Lots of good stuff.
We have a new person in our department at work, and he told me to watch Legion. So now I have two people at work telling me to watch Legion. I have considered figuring out which live action Marvel content I have not seen, or at least TV shows, and watching them. Like, I didn't see all of I already forgot what it was called. There was some other mutant show. I forgot what it was called. Gifted, yes.
right.
I saw the first season. I didn't see the second season. I've thought about that, but I haven't yet. But I think that's against the spirit of the question. The spirit of the question is not MCU show. Yes, Legion is not MCU, but I feel like it was.
I just saw that. I didn't. I just realized that now. I feel like an idiot.
I also have not seen Legion either. So,
oh, what?
No, I haven't. Again, there's so much content out there. But no, I've been making my way through Euphoria, so I'm one episode away from the end of season 1.
Oh, there you go.
My wife and I have been watching Yellowstone. We are about 3 or 4 episodes away from the end of season 4, and then we'll kind of make our way through 1883. And it's, man, both of those are some pretty far out shows. I'll tell you that much.
Is it match the hype? Because I feel like I heard about Yellowstone, and then these past few years, it to me is like the new like Breaking Bad, Sopranos, where so many people are like, you gotta watch Yellowstone. I've not had too much inkling to, other than like the cast looks great. So go ahead.
I would equate it to, if you're kind of a fans of like a Sons of Anarchy, a little bit of space, but basically the mob out, like land ownership is the mob in the West at that point, and this family controls this area of the Montana at that point, and it's just doing everything to prevent progress out there. And it's far out in the sense of, oh yeah, that'll never happen, but it's just enjoy, sit back, and just have a good time.
Well, if it'll never happen, I can't watch it because I only watch things that are strictly realistic.
That's true.
No other part of that. We just finished up Dickinson season 3, the final season. That show is quirky as hell. I don't know how else to describe it. It's weird, and I would probably continue with it, but I'm not upset that it's finished. Plus free her up to just Haley Steinfeld up to stick with more Hawkeye stuff. We are watching. Go ahead and yell at me now. We are watching. My wife and I are watching Bridgerton. We have a couple more episodes of that. She loved the first season, and I'm like, it's fine. I know what it is going into it. I've watched Grey's Anatomy and like Station 19, and it's the same thing, just with more smut. I mean, whatever. It's fine. But my wife likes them, and I don't care. They can be on. But I was looking at my list because I keep it like I have like a real list that we go off of like, not, I'll watch it someday. Like Legion is not on this list. Russian Doll has another season coming out soon, and I really enjoyed the first one, which is a Groundhog Day style thing. Katie Brent just say you love it. The smut is gold. This season it's been fine. And then Flight Attendant season 2 comes out soon too, so I'm sure we will check out both of those.
I'll tell you what, I saw the trailer of it, and I mentioned to Erin because we watched season 1 of Flight Attendant, and it was like, she's like, so what is it about? I said, I can't even show you the trailer because I that'll just probably ruin something for you with it.
So talk about smut. Well, there's 2 things I'm watching right now currently. One is because we saw Sonic and they love Sonic. So now
how do you go from smut to the kids?
Well, that's why I forgot.
We're learning something.
Yeah, horrible segue.
Well, some of that Sonic stuff is smut, but no, like we're watching Sonic X from like the early 2000s where it has like Knuckles, Amy, Tail. Like it's pretty much them as like Avengers, but like they're in a world. And the first episode is eerily similar to the movie. He gets teleported to another world and he's trying to work his way back. It's fascinating stuff.
Perfect.
And I had seen this when I was like younger, and now the kids like Sonic. So okay, put this on. It's on Amazon Prime and Netflix.
On Amazon and Netflix. All right, We went and saw Sonic 2 also. I loved it. I'll put that on for my son. He'll do it.
Canada though, I don't know if it's the same for you because the
You
same
Canadians.
the
I'll look it
same
up.
way though. I'm at you guys because me and the kids are gonna watch it. I've found a way to watch it, but I can't watch.
Yeah,
You guys have X-Men Evolution on Disney Plus. There, we do not in Canada, and I've been
Oh.
wanting to rewatch that so much. So that's what my daughter's getting a little bit older. I want to show her namesake of Logan Jean, named after these two X people. So and we've watched the '97. So many times. Like, I think we've already watched it twice through with the kids. It's like, hey, I want to find some different X-Men. So we don't have that, and we don't have Wolverine X-Men. But I will say the smut that I'm watching, the thing that's trending all over Next right now, is The Ultimatum. I love good, trashy reality TV show.
Oh, I
And
haven't
get this,
seen it.
guys. All you Marvel fans, you're going to love this show. It's like, let's say Chris and I were in a relationship, and Chris has given me the ultimatum, says we have to get married or we're breaking up. So this experiment is they take a bunch of couples, and they have to date another couple and live with them for 3 weeks, a different
Good Lord.
person, to find out do they
Sounds
truly
horrible.
want to. So it's like this. It'd be like me and Chris come together, but now me and Brent are living together for 3 weeks because maybe I'd want to marry Brent instead. Maybe I am looking for marriage, but it's in Brent. It's the trashiest stuff ever. But
Request denied.
I absolutely love it. Love is Blind. The Circle's coming back, so I need something. Every once in a while, like I watch, lots of great stuff, but it's like every once in a while you need some.
You
just
need
some
something that you
junk
can
food.
turn your brain off for.
Yes, and
That's
binge
what
8
you need.
episodes in a night when the kids are at the grandparents. Like, we're just gonna watch this, and
Perfect.
it was a good time.
Well,
Okay.
there we go. This was a surprise kind of not only post credits of where it took, but a surprise return to Travis. So, all right. Well, we'll see you all next week with more Moon Knight.